ah, 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 ah. I am equally incapable. Thank you. Thank you, Canto. Okay.
We do. We follow those blue bracketed numbers. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom.
It is so good to see you and so good to welcome Shabbat in community. It feels like the summer is starting to end. But come on, it's California. We can run for longer than 8 weeks with the summer, and we can keep showing up in flip-flops for a longer time. And it is pretty wonderful to welcome Shabbat week after week in community and in this environment that we create together. In this week of Parashat Re'eh, in which we are invited to look more deeply, to open our eyes, to open our hearts, and to become aware of the many blessings and some of the curses. There are some curses in this Torah portion as well that we can experience in our lives, and how ultimately our awareness, our willingness to see, to experience, to feel, help us guide our paths. It's with this idea that I'd like to invite you to turn your Sidurim to page 129. I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine, which is symbolically, let's play with Hebrew for 1 second. What's the month that we're about to welcome in the Hebrew calendar? Elul. What are the letters of Elul? The Hebrew letters of Elul. But you are right, Diane. Yes, you are. What are the Hebrew letters of the word Elul? Aleph, Lamed, Vav, Lamed. And as we turn our Sidurim to page 129, Ani, Ledodi, Aleph, Lamed, Ve, Vav, Dodi, Li, Lamed. Elul is an acronym. Yeah, no, it works, because the Ve connects Mitch. That's how Hebrew works. Ani Ledodi, Bedodi Lei is an acronym for I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. In this month of Elul that we welcome next week, we try to find love, to do the work of Teshuvah, the work of preparation toward the Yamim Hanoraim, the High Holidays. Now I'd like to invite Charla and Miranda to light Shabbat candles for us, with us. We invite you to turn your Sidurim to page 120. There you can find the blessing.
And you used to think the ones we lit with candles with the wick were hard.
אשר קידשנו במצוותיו, ציוונו להדליק נר.
Shel Shabbat.
שבת שלום.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Good Shabbos. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. We'll now turn our Sidurim to page 130. לכו לרננה לאדוני.
לכו נרננה לאדוני, נריע לצור אישנו, נקדמה פניו בתודה בזמירות, נריע לו, נקדמה פניו בתודה בזמירות, נריע לו.
Page 131.
שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני, כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסרו מיום ליום, ישועתו, ספרו הגויים, כבודו, בכל העמים, נפלאותיו. ילאי, לי, 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 ילאי, לי, לי, ילאי, לי, 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 ילאי, לי, 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 ילאי, לי, לי,
As we turn the pages of our Sidurim, we ask each of these songs, each of these melodies, each of these poems, each of these psalms to help us enter a palace on time, a palace that we try to create with the intentions of our hearts. A different time, a time in which we break apart from our routines and make the choice to open our eyes, to open our hearts, לראות, to see different things, the wonders that we have in our lives. We're on page 134.
זמרו לאדוני בכינור, בכינור וכל זמרה. זמרו לאדוני בכינור,
turn our Sidurim to page 136 for Psalm 29, Mismor le David.
Mismor le David, Avul Adonai b'nei Elim. Mismor le David, Avul Adonai kavod la'oz. Mismor le David, Avul Adonai b'nei Elim. Mismor le David, Avul Adonai kavod la'oz. Avul Adonai kavod la'oz. Avul Adonai kavod shemo. Avul Adonai kavod la'oz. Avul Adonai kavod shemo. Adonai yevarech et amo ashalom. Adonai os le'amo yiten. Adonai yevarech et amo ashalom. Lai lai lai, yara lai 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 lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yara lai 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 lai. Yai, yarai, lai, lai, yarai, lai, lai. Adonai os le'amo yiten. Adonai yevarech et amo ashalom. Adonai os le'amo yiten. Adonai yevarech et amo ashalom.
Our tradition thinks of Shabbat as a bride, as a queen, as a majestic, mind-boggling presence. Something that you can't ignore, that once you recognize it, you acknowledge it, you just can't be indifferent to it. Now, it only can happen if we decide that we want to notice it. And Shabbat, to some extent, is an invitation to fall in love with our routines, to recognize the niflaot, the wonders that we have in our lives, and to celebrate our creations, what we have achieved so far, not what is left to do. We don't come to Shabbat with our to-do list, with what we are supposed to be doing next week. That's for Sunday. That's for Yom Rishon. Today, we look back at our routines, at our week, and we celebrate the wonders that we have so far. So with that spirit, I invite you to turn your Sidurim to page 138 as we welcome the Shabbat bride. We sing the first, the second, the fifth, the sixth, and the ninth verses of Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kahala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamo v'zachor b'dibur echad, yishmi'anu el hameyuchad. Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, neshem u'tiferet
לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקרלה, לך דודי, לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקרלה, לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. בראש מקדם נהסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקרלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקרלה. התעוררי, כי בא הולך קומי אורי, אורי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקרלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקרלה. לא תבושי ולא תיכלמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תאמי. בך יחסו עניי ימין, ונתנתה הירה הירה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקרלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקרלה.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה וצהולם, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה,
בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקרלה. 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 And now that we have welcome Shabbat, we'll take a moment to welcome each other. If this is your first time at Shir Chadash and you are okay identifying yourself, we'd love to recognize you. So if you like to raise your hand and say your name, we'd love for that to happen. We're not gonna. Yes, what's your name? SK. It's very nice to meet you. Where are you coming from? Illinois. Welcome to Shir Chadash. Thank you for introducing yourself. Did you come alone? Did you come on your own? That's so great that you brought some people with you. Keep them with you. Very nice to meet you. Welcome to Shir Chadash. No. So B7 to West. Oh, it's okay. You move forward. You could say. Oh. Okay. I'm glad you're here. So welcome. It's very nice to meet you. Yes.
Welcome.
Welcome, Josh. Baruch haba. Welcome to Shir Chadash. Baruch haba. Welcome to Shir Chadash. Do we have anyone else that wants to introduce yourself? Okay, now that we have done that, we'll take a moment to say Shabbat Shalom to each other. And if you see a face that you don't recognize, or someone that you recognize is you haven't spoken with for a while, please make a point out of saying Shabbat Shalom. It's on you and not in the other person. Let's take a moment to say good Shabbos to each other. Ohikala, b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Ohikala, b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Ohikala. לך דודי לקראת כלה. בני שבת לקהלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה. בני שבת לקהלה. בואי כלה, בני שבת לקהלה. בואי כלה, בני שבת לקהלה. בואי כלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה. בני שבת לקהלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה. בני שבת לקהלה. בני שבת לקהלה. בני שבת לקהלה. Now as you are standing, we invite you to turn your Sidurim to page 146. 146 for Barhu, the blessing that introduces us to the Shema. The blessing that invites us to look around and to recognize our minyan. It's a moment in which we actually count. We make sure that we have more than 10. But the most beautiful thing behind the idea of the minyan is that it's a moment to recognize the diversity of our community, and that the unity of God, it's not in our uniformity, but rather in our diversity. We're on page 146. Adonai, Yadalai, Dai, 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 Amevorach, Ay, Yadai, Dai, Baruch, Adonai, Amevorach, Leolam Baed, Ay, Ay, Dai, 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 Yadalai, Dai, 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 Yadalai, Dai, 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 Yadalai, Dai, Dai. You may be seated.
Please join me on page 149. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch Ata Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. Page 150.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות,
אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד.
הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגע יומם בלילה, נגע יומם בלילה, ואהבתך אל תסיט ממנו לעולמים.
ברוך אתה אדוני
אוהב
עמו ישראל.
אוהב עמו ישראל.
We're on page 152 for the Shema. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu,
אדוני אחד.
Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu,
אדוני אחד.
Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu,
אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני
Page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך, בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך, ובקומך, וקשרתם להות ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אמת, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. אמת באמונה כל סוד וקיים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ואין זולתו ואנחנו ישראל עמו. We'll continue with the silent reading over page 156, or alternatively you can choose one of the readings on page 157. משה ומרים ובני ישראל לך ענו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו קולם. When your children witness your presence, they praise your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moshe, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices with joy. Who is like you, O God? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. We are on page 158. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. מי כמוך נדע בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך
נדע בקודש,
נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים
לפני משה ומרים.
תהלי אנו בעמנו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praise are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch Ata Adonai, Gaal Israel. Turn our Sidurim to page 160 for the blessing for internal peace. Shkivenu.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני
אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים.
ושמור צאתנו
ובואנו לחיים ושלום מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, בעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, בעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over the city of Shalom, the holy city of Jerusalem. Before we enter Tfilat Amidah, the central prayer of our service, we remind ourselves that it is Shabbat. Remind ourselves to set apart some of our daily concerns and try to focus in what's really important to us, in the prayer that we really need. invite you to turn your Sidurim to page 164. We will recite the first line of Tfilat Amidah together, and we will continue in silence. Then you can choose the millennia or words of our tradition, or alternatively, you can take a moment for your personal prayer. שפתיי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Hasta que volver más. Hasta que dos. The bottom of page 180. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. May the one who makes peace in the high heavens make peace for us, for all Israel, and all who inhabit the earth, and let us say. We'll now take a moment to acknowledge those that are dealing with illness in their bodies, in their souls. We think of those dealing with addictions and of those carrying grief. If there is a name that you'd like to share in this Erev Shabbat, we invite you to do so as we go around. Susan, I can't hear you. And Shlema.
Bruce Roberts, Alfredo Massman, Diane Siegel, Gail Frankel, Scott Van Gundy, Daphne Talmor, Dave Stahl, Greg Herb, Murray Siegel, Sue Leiter, Laura Sternberg, Margaret and Larry McGuan, Bill and Esther Linder, Carol Rosenberg, Adrian Friedman, Linda Lieberman, Debbie Pink, Richard Ravitch, Bernice Paris, Elise Musin, Franklin Wolfson, Karen Katzman, Jerry Levy, Gary Trumbly, Paul Jerry Miller. We're on page 371.
Mekol
of them, to all of you, to all of us. רפואה שלמה, והחלמה מהירה, a complete recovery and well-being. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Well, I have said that already. I'll ask you, who knows what this week's Torah portion? Re'eh. And what's the meaning of the word re'eh? See, look, notice. And what's the topic of this Torah portion? Anybody knows? This is one of the most famous Torah portions in the Torah. How we know that? Well, because it's one of those in which we are introduced to blessings, and very often when we are introduced to blessings, Re'eh natati lefanecha et habracha, the blessing I have given, I have set before you, the blessing, and it's almost always, so often a combo, and the klala, the curse. They often come together. And many commentators say this is for us to understand that ultimately, bracha, beklala, blessing and curse, good and evil, in today's words would be like saying there are two sides of the same coin. Or in the language of our commentators, evil is nothing else than a transnotation of divine goodness. Now, besides that, and we'll get back to this idea hopefully in no more than 4 minutes. And 4 rabbinical minutes. Now, well, the time in the Talmud was different. Go argue with that. No, it's true. So, what are the other topics in this Torah portion? Any idea? I tell you in a moment. I'm going to go through them. But before even I mention them, I want you to be aware of something. I think that there is a meta topic to this Torah portion. There's a topic that is a common thread in this Torah portion, and is not mentioned with these specific words that I will use, but I think is right there. And it's the topic of ownership. What are the things that we really, really own? So, the Torah portion will talk about a character, a very special character. You know who is that character? I'll tell you. I'm not going to ask you anymore. I'm going to assume that you know, and I let you know anyway. False prophet. Have you heard about false prophets? Are these individuals in the Torah that present a truth, that own a truth that turns out to be false or a lie? I was listening to what my beloved rabbi, Stanley Davids, who you met here a couple of months ago, and he was making a comparison between false prophets and some influencers. Not that all influencers are false, but he was making some connection between the places from which we get reliable messages and information and the places that sell us propaganda. The question around the false prophet is, who is the one who owns the truth? Who is truthful? The second topic in the Torah portion is kosher animals. Now, without getting into much detail, for those that have thought about eco-kashrut or eco-kosher, in the book of Genesis, we are told that the Eretz, the land, the earth, is ours. We own it And the meaning of that ownership is that we are meant to exercise some level of responsibility over the administration of the land. And the idea of kashrut comes to tell us you own the land, but you don't own every single thing in the land. It's kind of the distinction between use and abuse. Not that eating not kosher is an abuse, but not having any practice of limitations in our interaction with the environment certainly can lead to abuse. Now, the third topic is the tithe, the 10% that we are supposed to give. Now, isn't that one of the most interesting and almost impossible ideas of the Torah? Have you ever considered giving a 10% of your something to something? Not being specific, not talking about money necessarily. Have you ever considered taking a 10% of something that you believe you own and giving it for some cause? Now, we are really busy trying to own stuff. We try to own the work that we do. We try to own our focus. And we try to give 100% to our work. 100% we try to be focused. And it turns out that that little 10% might be important to be delivered, to be given for certain things. Now, do we have any salesperson in the room, in the open space? Come on, nobody works in sales here in the Silicon Valley. Nobody sells anything. You all sell something. Okay, Sheldon, let's work numbers. It's you. Well, for a salesperson, you are the treasure. You're going to be my victim. That's also a possibility. Sheldon, how much could be like a good commission for a salesperson? 20% is a good commission. So the company takes 80%, and the salesperson takes a 20%. Now, if you are fantastic, maybe a 30%, is that a possibility? If you work hard. Let's say that you are spectacular. 40%? You never heard of, okay, well, stop there. So, remind me your name? Jeff. Jeff never heard of a 40%. Now, the formula of the Torah is actually that the company gives you 90%, and you're only supposed to give back a 10%. Now, when we think about money, we probably struggle. What about giving time to our beloved ones? How are you distributing? How are we distributing our time? How about taking care of our souls? How about well-being? I haven't met the person, Diane, but if you are the person, then we will need to make a speech and you will deliver it. We try to own every single thing and making distributions, make mindful distributions and saying, I cannot use it all. When we try to take it all or to give it all, it's an important practice that appears also in this Torah portion. And ultimately, it goes into the mitzvah of tzedakah. What's the meaning of the word tzedakah? Charity. Charity comes from the word love. Care. Thank you so much. But the charity comes from the word love. Care. Caritas. Now, tzedakah means justice. It has to do with actually, it's not about our goodwill or our goodwill. It has to do with ownership once again. What do we really own? Some of you might be familiar with the story of the Rothschilds, that once the Baron Rothschild was asked, what do you own? How much money do you have? So he went, checked his numbers, and came back with the number of all the money that his family had given away. And the statement was, tomorrow I might lose all my businesses. Tomorrow I might lose the hotel that I own and my bank accounts. The only thing that I can really account that I really own is what I have given away. what we try to keep in our bank accounts. It's just there. And the last component that appears in this Torah portion is the pilgrimage holidays. Shloshet HaRegalim, the 3 pilgrimage holidays, in which the Torah says something, "V'samachta b'chagecha," you shall rejoice in your holidays. We'll talk about that tomorrow, the idea of joy. But the Torah says something spectacular. Now, forgot something. The Torah says, and I'll tell you in a second, the Torah says that we are supposed to give our first fruits, that we are supposed to bring contributions. The Torah reminds us, and that's what I forgot, of the Shnat HaShemitah, the Shemitah year, the sabbatical year, in which we are told, we are reminded that the land doesn't belong to us. In which we are reminded also of the Jubilee year, that the freedom of human beings, the human beings, belong only to themselves. And ultimately, the Torah tells us about these 3 pilgrimage holidays. And then, almost by the end of the Torah portion, says, and you are supposed to come and see and be seen. Telling us, or reminded us, that we might own the spaces that we create. Now let's take all of them and go back to the beginning. What's the beginning of the Torah portion? Re'eh, natati lefanecha et habracha v'et haklala. It's in singular. Moses is in the middle of this huge speech, speaking to the Jewish people, and he doesn't use a plural word. Re'u would be tiru. Re'u would be the plural word. Moses says, Re'eh, see, look. And the commentators say that that's a call to self-awareness. It's a call to open our eyes and to open our hearts. It's a reminder that the distinction between the blessing and the curse is a projection of our actions. Now, during this time of the year, we are summoned to own our life experiences. The entire topic of the high holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and this month of Elul that we will celebrate its beginning next week. The entire topic is the call, the shofar call, to become aware, awake to our life experiences. And what Torah ultimately is trying to communicate to us, that the possibility to live in a curse or in a blessing is a reflection of our choices. So one last word. This one I will need to read. I'm not going to read it. It's too small. I want to invite you to think for a moment about what you believe you own and what you believe you should acquire. I want to invite you to think for a moment what keeps you away from where you want to be and what you really want to own. What you really want to own. What you really want to have in your pockets, not necessarily in your bank account. And maybe with this idea, with this invitation, which is not mine, it's the invitation of the High Holies to find our path to return, to reconnect with our souls, with our hearts, to think and start thinking now, not in Erev Rosh Hashanah, in the evening of Rosh Hashanah, or when you show up for Kol Nidrei. Start thinking now about what's a blessing for you in your life, and what's that path that you need to enter Nobody else can do it for you. It's re, it's in singular. It's not a plural for a reason. It's about your life experience. What are the things that you might need to let them go? So often we find ourselves holding so much, trying to hold the 100%. Maybe if we really want to own something, we need to give a 10% away. Maybe we need to recognize that some of the things that we thought we own, we don't really. And take a moment to ask ourselves what we really, really want to have in our life. And if we get to ask that question, we might have a better chance to get closer to the blessing that is reminded to us in this Torah portion. Re'eh. If we choose to look, if we choose to become aware, to see, to open our hearts, I pray with you. Shabbat Shalom. We'll continue our service on page 587 with Aleinu Leshabeach. Please rise. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לאחד את שמו, וגורלנו להמליך מלכותו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, עד קדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו בגובי מרומים. ואלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו, אפס מלאתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום בהשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת. אין עוד, רק לקבלך לראות בבירת כספך, ולגל מן הארץ לתקן עולם במלכות שדי. At the bottom of page 590, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם בהד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. At this point of our service, we take a moment to acknowledge mourners among our community. If you are during the first 7 days of mourning, please rise. If you are during the first 30 days of mourning, please rise and share with us who you're remembering. If you are during the cycle of the first year of mourning, please rise and share with us who you're remembering.
My mother, Dr. Grace Deutsch, and her best friend who died at 103, Ruth Belford.
Their memories be a blessing. If you have a yahrzeit this week, the anniversary of someone's passing by this time of the year in years past, please rise and share with us who you're remembering. Now you can support our fellows.
The congregation offers our condolences to Lisa Pate on the death of her mother, Eleanor Hill. We remember those whose death has recently been taken from us. Daniel Knipe, Sandra Koff, Inaroso Benito, Marcel Cunningham, Madeline Salzman, Kevin Scott, Robert Kilgore, Dahlia Schneider, Michael Pleiner, Joyce Levine, Shirley Israel, Thelma Turner, Marilyn Graben, Alan Feigen, Jonah Anschel, Sharon Lowenbrown, Sheila Bamberger, Dr. Grace Deutsch, Clarissa Glotzer, Stephen Bornstein, Richard Kennemer, Ethel Shanker, Varda Satchi, Rabbi Tlalit Shavit, Jack Long, Virginia Larson, Miriam Moore, Bob Sturman, Lenora Wang, Adam Richard Spilka, Shlomo Isips, Howard Levine, Barbara Lombard, Claire London, Drago Herman, Merle Greenwald, Samuel Grinwald, Anita Kumula, Bryce Lyon, Edna Stone, Miriam Davis, Lauren Janovich, Janet Wall, Charlene Kilgore, Ezra Satit Satchi, Gideon Hoffer, Alvin Kramer Siegel, Velasta Vijanovich, Galina Buturina, Karen Imbalzano, Lillian Berman, Robert Bruce Myers, Abraham Karras, Scott Safadi, Norman Green, Marilyn Silverman, Leslie Heinall, David Green, Jeannie Porish, Estelle Abrams, Spencer Caney, Arthur Cherdak, and those who died at this season in years past: Abraham Sandelman, Andrea Cameron, Barbara Terry Kurtz, Betty Raskovitz, Chuck Felder, Esther Green, Eva Seltzer, Friedel Fisher, Fusaya Ogawa, Harry Raskovitz, Helene Sonnenschein, Hilda Lucille Pelsner, Jerry Salzman, Maurice Alberts, Michael Jacknow, Milton Friedlander, Morris Wisnia, Raymond Beamisturfer, Ronald Bernard, Ruth Alpert, Sylvia Gilbert. And now you can support our community by standing or sitting, joining us with your voices or your hearts for Kaddish Avilim, the Mourner's Kaddish, on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shmei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam ulamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudisha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen.
Amen. May the memories of your beloved ones be always a blessing in your life. Yesichram Baruch. You may be seated.
Announcements, we invite up Susan Levin.
Should I take it out?
Yeah, last week I went on a little bit too long, and the rabbi had to play the guitar and kind of give me an announcement that it was time to leave. So I'm going to say what I didn't say last week, which is I'm head of or on the board for membership engagement, and Jody is doing this wonderful thing about having us be the year of Shir Hadash. You know, what is Shir Hadash? What is it for you? Where you got married? Where your children went to school, the place where you study Torah. As part of membership engagement, I'd like you to think forward. What would you like Shir Hadash to do for you that it's not already doing? What can we dig deeper and make better? Talk to me. Talk to me. And now, announcements. You look at them in the back of the page. But tomorrow, continuation of so come and.
Do you think that
Contents
the
may
events
cause
are connected?
happiness. Contents may cause happiness. So the Torah may cause. How great! Who set that up? Was that Was that you, Josh? Yeah,
There you
I
go.
knew it. I knew it. It's Josh did that. Okay. So tomorrow, continuation of studying Torah in the morning at 9:30, and then services at 10:30 afterward. But the whole big thing is happening on Sunday, and so at 10:30 is the open house. So for all future members, preschool parents interested in exploring our programs, save the date, invite friends who might be interested in membership to come and check us out. And then at 12 o'clock is our big first day of a little community barbecue on the patio. Men's Club is cooking up a storm. We're going to have bouncy houses, spin art. Where's Walden? I think that might be our rabbi, but I'm not sure. But
Yep.
where's Walden, the scavenger hunt?
Isn't that what we are all wondering?
Where's Walden?
He's in
Waldo?
Colorado.
Wait,
No, where's Walden?
Waldo?
As in, where's Rabbi Walden?
Walden. Okay. And next week, of course, another flip-flop Shabbat. And then looking ahead, on Sunday, August 20th, as the bagel breakfast sponsored by the Men's Club, kicking off the first day of Kolanu. And then the first day of Jet was Tuesday, August 22nd. So Jet is our teen program. So 6:30 dinner, and then the session starting afterward, 7 o'clock. Shabbat Shalom. Come and talk to me later.
Shabbat
Thank
Shalom.
you. And what you didn't say, Susan, I want to tell the word. Come on, you forgot something. Turn off the microphone. No. So, what you didn't say, Susan, is that the committee that you are leading and the work that you and Sarah Mintz are doing, they're about to be born at Shir Hadash, 6 new Haburot. 6 new Haburot. That's fantastic and pretty serious. So thank you for the work, the fantastic work that you all are doing. I invite you to turn your Siduri now to page 122 for Kiddush. בערב ויבוקר יום השישי, ויחול השמיים בארץ וכל צבאם, ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. Please rise. סברי חבריי וחברותיי.
לחיים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו, ברצה בנו, בשבת קודשו, באהבה וברצון, הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, ויום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, עם כל העמים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת. לחיים.
לחיים.
We'll make sure that we conclude this time together, this time of welcoming Shabbat together, sharing blessings with each other. I invite you to take notice of each other, to re'eh each other, to see each other, to stand next to your children, to your parents, to your friends, and to make sure that nobody stays alone. As we acknowledge the gifts that we have in our lives, the many blessings that we carry, and we acknowledge also the gifts that we have to give, that we can offer to the world, we acknowledge our creations. We say to our children, to our beloved ones, may God inspire you to be like the loving parents of the house of Israel. ישמחם אלוהים כאפרים וכמנשה, ישמחם אלוהים כשרה רבקה, רחל ולאה. And we say to all of them, יברככם אדוני באיש מרחם, may God bless you and protect you. יאר אדוני פניו אליכם ויחונכם. May God's light shine upon you and may God be gracious to you. יישא אדוני פניו אליכם. May you find God's presence within you always, and may you choose blessings. May you choose to live your life with awareness. May you choose to recognize what you own and what you don't own. and you let go of things that sometimes we find ourselves carrying that just make our journeys very, very heavy and almost unbearable. Own what you own and let go what you don't. And may God bless you with wholeness, with its most beautiful blessing, the blessing of shalom. Adonai os le'amav. May God bless its peoples with the blessing of shalom. Adonai yevarech et amav v'shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Mevorach everybody. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha. Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha. Tasim
leolam.
כי אתה הוא מלך אדום לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדום לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. Good Shabbos, everybody. Good Shabbos. Trista, can you say Amotzi? Thank you. You made the year now. You made the year now that you came